Part 1. The Gloom of Arjuna. Spoke Dhritarashtra, king of the Kurus, to Sanjaya, the faithful, saying, Tell me, O Sanjaya, of my people and the Pandus, assembled in battle array on the plain of the Kurus. What have they been doing? Sanjaya, thy son Duryodhana, commander of thy hosts of battle, when he beheld the host of the Pandus, arrayed for strife and combat, approached his preceptor, Drona, the son of Bharavaja, saying, Behold, O master, the mighty host of the sons of Bandu, comprising the vast array of experienced and bold fighting men, commanded by thy former pupil, the wily and resourceful son of Drupada. Behold how, gathered together in the opposing ranks are mighty warriors in their chariots of battle. Their names are synonyms for valor, strength and cunning. And on our own side, gathered together, under my command, are the greatest warriors of our people, heroes, valiant and experienced, each well armed with his favorite weapons, and most ready to use them, and all devoted to me and my cause, and willing and anxious to risk and renounce their lives for my sake. But, alas, O master, this army of ours, although most valiant and though commanded by Bhishma, seems unto me too insufficient and weak, while the enemy, commanded by Bhima, and confronting us in threatening array, seems more strong and sufficient. Therefore, let all the captains of my host prepare to stand by Bhishma, to support and guard him well. Then Bhishma, the ancient chief of the Kurus, blew his great battle shell, sounding in like unto the roar of the lion, to awaken the spirits and courage of the Kurus. And answering its great roar, there sounded at once innumerable other shells and horns, drums and tabors and other instruments of warlike music, so that the sound was tumultuous and stirred the hearts of the Kurus to valiant deeds and high resolves. Then, in brave response and mighty defiance, sounded forth the instruments of the hosts of the Pandus, standing in their great war chariots, trimmed with gold and precious stones, and drawn by milk-white steeds, Krishna, the incarnation of God, and Arjuna, the son of Bandu, sounded their war shells until the air quivered in vibration. And all the rest of the mighty host of the Pandus joined in the defiance, and the mightiest warriors of the throng sounded their instruments again and again, until the sound was as the sound of the violent thunder, and earth's surface answered in responsive rhythm. And the hosts of the Kurus were affrighted and dismayed. Then Arjuna, perceiving that the hosts of Kurus stood ready to begin the fight, and seeing that even then the arrows were beginning to wing their flight through the air, raising his bow, spake thus to Krishna, the god, who stood beside him in the chariot, O Krishna, drive thou, I pray thee, my chariot so that it stand between the two opposing armies, that I may gaze upon the men of the Kuru hosts that stand ready to begin this bloody fight, and with whom I must combat, battle, and strive in this fray. Let me look upon mine enemies, the followers of the evil-minded and vindictive commander of the Kurus. Then drove Krishna the chariot containing himself and Arjuna, until at last it stood in a space between the two opposing hosts. And then Krishna bade Arjuna look attentively upon the hostile army of the Kurus, and then upon the faces of his friends, the host of the Pandus. And Arjuna, looking, saw arrayed on either side, grandsires, uncles, cousins, tutors, sons and brothers. Gazing farther he saw, likewise, near relations and bosom friends, loved ones, benefactors, playmates, companions, and many others whose welfare was dear to him, he saw standing opposed to him, fretting for the fight. And also standing back of him, awaiting the word to join him in the fray, stood others of like relationship, both of blood and of friendship. And Arjuna, seeing these things, was overcome with gloom, compassion, pity, compunction, despondency, and sadness filled his heart, and, sighing deeply, with sorrow permeating his tones, he spake thus to Krishna, who stood by his side in the chariot, O Krishna, now that I behold the faces and forms of my kindred and loved ones, thus arrayed against each other, and chafing for the fight, my heart faileth me. My legs tremble, mine arms refuse to do my bidding, my face is drawn in agony, my skin burns as with a fever, my hair standeth upon end, my brain reels, my whole body is convulsed with horror, my war bow slips from my fingers. Evil omens fill the air, and strange voices seem to speak around me, so that I am overcome with confusion and indecision. What good can come from my killing these my kindred, and loved ones, and friends? I desire not the glory of victory, O Krishna, nor do I long for the kingdoms or dominion, nor do I seek for enjoyments of life, or pleasure, nor even life itself. These things appear most vain and undesirable to me when those for whom they were to be coveted have abandoned life and all else. Tutors, sons and fathers, grandsires and grandsons, uncles and nephews, cousins, kindred all and friends, comrades and companions, stand before me, inviting my arrows. Even though these may desire to kill me, nay, may even actually slay me, still do I wish not to slay them, even though the three great regions of the universe be my reward, much less the petty thing we call the earth, or the pettier kingdoms thereof. Were I to kill my relatives, the sons of Dhritarashtra, what happiness or pleasure could be ours, O Great One? Should we destroy them, remorse would be our companion and indweller. Therefore, it seems to me as a truth that we should refrain from slaying these, our kinsmen, for how can we be happy, hereafter, if we are guilty of having destroyed those of our race? It is no excuse for us, who see these things as we do, to say that these others have minds so depraved and bloodthirsty that they can see no evil in the shedding of the blood of their kinsmen and friends. Can such an excuse justify us, who knoweth better, in committing a like horror? We have been taught that in the annihilation of a family, the ancient virtue of the family is destroyed, and in the destruction of the virtue and traditions of a people, vice and impiety overwhelm the whole race. Thus may the women of the family become corrupt, and the purity of the blood vanish. This adulteration of the blood prevents the performance of the ceremonies of the rites to the ancestors, according to our ancient customs, and the forefathers, if the teachings of the people be true, must sink into a state of misery and unhappiness. Thus by the crimes of those who destroy their own relations, sore contamination of the family virtue and glory is made possible, and the forefathers of the race are given great mortification, and pain and degradation, as we have been taught from childhood. As a people, O Krishna, O woe is me! Woe unto us who are preparing to commit the horrible crime of murdering these, our blood relations and kind, for the bauble of dominion, the lust of power. Rather would I bare my breast to the weapons of the cuirass, and let them drink deep of the blood of my heart. Rather would I await their coming, unresistingly, and unarmed meet their thrusts and commit this foul crime against my blood relations. Surely, that for me would be far the better. O woe is me, and woe unto us all! And having spoken thus, Arjuna sank back upon the seat of his chariot, and sitting down, he put away from him his bow and his arrows, and, placing his head between his hands, he gave way to the gloom, despondency and grief that was consuming his heart. Thus endeth Part 1. Of the Bhagavad Gita, which Part 1, called the Gloom of Arjuna,